How's it going, everybody? My name is irrelevant, but I'm here regardless. And anyways, we represent Zamani Refuge, African Culture Center. Founder Yeye Osunyemi is here. And she's going to just chill, and I'm going to try to chill. And we're going to talk about some thoughts on our mind today. Kind of started, I guess, I was listening to the mass media corporate device on the radio in the vehicle on my journeys this morning. And there was a statement on sexuality by Nashville, some organizations in Nashville. And yeah, I'm sure it's all just in the spin cycle of media and fun like that. But it touched just the whole idea of people governing sexuality of others was kind of resonating with me in terms of because I was having a discussion with someone the other day, and we talk about these issues every now and then. We don't agree, and I'm just trying to figure out what, how people feel about these things, because there's a lot that I feel like I've come to understand about sexuality and identity and gender and what have you. And so these evangelical communities from Nashville and across the world, and not just the evangelicals, but just individuals who feel they need to control others. So I come to this with a lot of learning to do, and still, so what I enjoy being around Valeria and knowing you and being your friend and sharing space with you, sharing this life with you is, we get to talk about things, and you have a really diverse knowledge of spirituality and many other subjects. You have a diverse knowledge of diverse knowledge. So I wrote some notes down. You were talking about being free to see earlier. And I think a lot of, I guess I wanted this video, I started with that point about the sexuality and stuff. I don't really know what we'll get to. We're just trying this out and flown around.
But talking about things that, I don't know, the isolation of our modern times. This is the way we have to share with each other. When I was growing up, we would have been sitting around, maybe people in a room or at church or somewhere, we would have a space to share, or we shared at each other's houses. But a lot of that's being reshaped. So this is the platform we have. So I'm grateful.
I guess what's coming up is, for me, sexuality, gender, and gender identity, and all these things. I've come to understand that we have constructed them through society. We have all agreed to decide that men exist because of masculine traits and women exist because of feminine traits.
Well, you should maybe define that the dominant paradigm. That's what I mean. So that's driven by Western ideology. So it's always a kind of a mistake to assume that what we are experiencing is the same thing that everybody around the world is experiencing, just like whether it's time or whatever. So we put such a great importance on it because that's all we know. So, we can look at many, many examples of things we've done historically, and then 50, 100 years later, you see what happens from that action.
I mean, I'm sure there's many examples, but
well, I like to look at timelines. Just look at the fall of the Roman Empire, the rise and the fall of the Roman Empire. So as you go through that, there's when everything seems to be going good, when you're at the height, everybody's believing whatever illusion, delusion, or even physical manifestations or towns or magnificent monuments you've built. But unless some core eternal guidelines are followed, soon all of that just becomes materialism and it falls. So that's the eye through which I look at today, are these people prognosticating, and they're so ignorant. I don't know, I guess it's self-choice to be ignorant when you're presenting something that was supposedly said by Jesus in ancient times, and you're using not even, I mean, you should be able to say, okay, this is this version of the Bible, and King James, this is what it said, and then, you know, go back to your original sources and not be afraid of that, and be cognizant that these things were changed by people who wish to politically control other people, just as it's being done now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so to me, that's the benefit of knowing some history. Either, I mean, I know it's hard to trust, but at least know some history. You know, even if it's the Western history, then you start to know the Eastern history, Chinese. You know the history of Russia, the history of Africa, and how it's been divided up. You know, the continent. So you learn that history, but it is a consciousness, and it has a shape in time and space. And as we become more conscious, and not passive receptors or victims of life, and we come to this point and we're like, oh, I'm creating this. Let me create what I want instead of what I don't want. So you start to be more economical about, I mean, when I listened to that article, the thing that came to mind was, don't cast your pearls before swine. These people have not even bothered to educate themselves. I mean, I think our goal should be to reach those people that those people are misleading, you know, with some truth. And
so you're just so folks know, we were, once again, a statement issued by Nashville. There's a preamble, and it's all just.
But Nashville who?
It's like these Baptist organizations in Nashville. They got together and made this declaration about what they feel about marriage and human sexuality is defined by the English Standard Version of the Bible. So that's what you were referring to as far as trying to separate, or not separate, but you know, we're trying to wrap our heads around how can we make an impact in our own lives, in the community. This is something that we talk about all the time. How can, well, what are we doing here?
Yes.
You know, why are we here? Not just like in the, like, oh, literally, like, oh, in life. I mean, that's there too, but like
day by day.
Why are we in this body?
Our time, Ashe.
And
in this body.
What's, once again, I just love your mind so much, because you're always ringing that little bell to say, go inside.
Ashe.
So it's easy to look at things going on outside in the world and the news and in your community, people you don't agree with doing things to that generate harm, and
you feel powerless.
And I agree with you that the more you focus on what they're doing, the less energy you're giving to what you should be doing.
What you want to do. You have to spend some time. Okay, that's what's happening out there in the physical. Okay, what do I want to do? What can I do? And how do I go about doing that? But so, and bringing that energy together and hopefully multiplying it by your friends, your family, or whatever. Because if it doesn't work right where you are, it's not working in Iraq or all these places where we want to send bombs. I mean, the solution to the warmongers is always going to be war. So the solution to the people of peace has to be right now. We are living in peace, and that it starts like right now, today, here where I am. And get about how do I do that? How do I, you know, it's quite a dilemma, but be kind to yourself, but just really, you can't solve something over out there, because in a way there's no out there. It's only where you are personally present can you have an effect. And that's having that effect on yourself by bringing the peace. You're going to bring it. You're going to find out what it means to be at peace with yourself. And then you don't worry about people like that, because it's kind of like, I always feel like it's like pulling your whole self inside out. And instead of going out there for solutions, you go first to your higher self for solutions. And then you have friends to kind of coordinate where we are, what we're doing, what's our plan. We're doing this together. Yeah. It's kind of like putting together an army of love, an army of light, an army of healing positivity, healing the minds.
Yeah, do it.
Well, that's that part of what the Mend to Make Market Appalachia was, part of the grant we got from the Puffin Foundation to mend the mind, then make something, and then figure out a market for it. Get into the craft trail or whatever. And that's the type of analysis that I and Zamani and you have been doing for this area of North Carolina where we happen to live. We have to start here. That's what I found working in Nigeria, where I had a lot of success. But when the Nigerians from sister cities wanted to visit here, there were no or few Black businesses to visit in Asheville. So I see that's changing, but it has to start changing with me first, manifesting my business, manifesting the success of Zamani Refuge African Cultural Center, and me stepping up to whatever new challenges face me with this 7 acres of land that we are custodians of. So, so that's pulling me tightly focused. And for Valeria Watson Art, my office in South Slope, Asheville, and working with Cleester Cotton. And I'm really excited that, let us start a little, she's somebody who wants to start something. And I'm like, I always wanted to start something. I've just been waiting for somebody to just like, yeah, make that fire, dream that dream, dare to dream it and manifest it. Because if we don't, who will? We have to make our dream. Nobody else will make that. It's not for them to do it.
So something just coming up now and me is, you've been talking about wanting to teach.
Mm-hmm.
What is that broadly? What does that look like? What are you trying to teach?
Well, since I stopped kind of compartmentalizing myself and my mind, because the world kind of wants you, if you're good at sewing, then that's what you should do. Or if you're good at then that's what you should do. And oh my goodness, don't do 2 things. So I feel like my mind is more like our minds, not just mine. When you start to touch the genius or the true being in yourself, perhaps these skills, talents, I don't know, come from many lifetimes. I happen to believe in having lived other lifetimes. So instead of rationalizing now why I have costumes, because I used to be a costumer, it's because I love costumes. If I was just a costumer, I would have got rid of that stuff. No, I love it. Receiving these new fashion magazines and being able to see how in Elle magazine, there was some diversity on the cover and all the way through. That's the younger demographic. So, and that's one of the way I judge or feel that, we're winning. We are winning. Everybody's all nervous and scared out there, but the kings of chaos are nervous. Look how they're running around. If you ever saw people like a chicken with their head cut off, that's what's happening. But we have to stay focused because we're winning. In that Elle magazine, there was a Black woman almost on every other page, either in an ad or an article. But the older demographic, Bazaar magazine.
Sure, you want to get them? This is just interesting. We're always looking at how is race represented in media.
Yeah. So this is the latest issue of Elle, and Zoe Kravitz, I think that's Lenny Kravitz's daughter. So, okay, here's a mixed race girl on the cover.
She has a Mississippi goddamn tattoo.
Yeah, she's right. And since I used to be a tattoo artist, I'm like noticing this new style of tattoos. You know, it's not these heavy blocks or, you know, the way we used to do it is, you know, they're just kind of these light little bits of writing. I saw some on Rihanna too. They're just kind of, and look, I mean, to me, this is the miracle of the violet flame transmutation, people's hard work, people's protest, Black Lives Matter, and pink. I'm like, pink is so in. Anyway, to me, just this is a really sidetrack, but anyway, and Bazaar has much fewer, and this is an older demographic, but it does have some. And Iman has an article in here that she wrote about her favorite dress, and there's an ad with a woman of a certain age. And I'm like, okay, this is what this is about. And so it's these younger demographics. This makes me excited that things are changing a bit, you know, at least in these echelons.
Cool. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah. Oh, so what I was going to say is this is like a gift. You know, on the spiritual path, there were many things I gave up. Like, I never really gave up drinking, though, but I've toned down. But, you know, smoking cigarettes, certain things you just give up. And two things I gave up were smoking marijuana and these fashion magazines, just because, you know, who needs fashion when you're just thinking about God? And then those things came back to me as gifts. And the marijuana as a healing herb on this path of control of my blood pressure. And these magazines, I'm like, oh my God, because I love this so much. And I love sewing. And I just, you know, there was bad parts in it, but when you love something so much, sometimes all you can see is the good. And so this is like a gift coming back, especially with a little pinko shoon happening. And that's how I see my confirmations, that the light of God truly never fails. And when you work on yourself, look at all that pink is what I'm talking about. I mean, it just makes me happy that I have a new gift. And you know, I haven't done any videos or teaching about the Orisha or whatever. And I had gotten discouraged in the past because every time I wanted to teach something about the Yoruba way, I got like massive resistance or people criticizing, you know, what do you know? And that's true. So all I can do in anything I'm doing is just talk about my path, how this reflects, you know, and it's not to tell other people what to do, which, getting back to these people making this big declaration, it's like making a declaration of war against love.
Once again, you're talking about
the church, these church people.
Nashville statement on sexuality.
Yeah.
That's handed down by God himself.
Yeah.
On paper.
Yeah. No. That's like wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, mighty Estrella and circle it, cause, effect, record, and memory.
Yeah. So, you know, regardless of your identity, your sexuality, we stand with you. Zamani Refuge, African culture stands with you. We're here to we're trying to figure it out. We're just trying to figure it out from all angles, any angle, and you can help. We don't have a lot of space. We don't have a lot of resources, but if...
Wait a minute. We have 7 acres. What do you mean we don't have a lot of resources?
What I mean to say is that we have the land, we have the time, but, you know...
All that's missing is you.
All that's missing is community. We're trying to...
We're building community.
Give space for people. You know, if you can build and you want to have a space to live.
And you are... non-hierarchical. I'm non-hierarchical by nature, so it makes it easy. This is an internally driven dharma. If you know about the dharma, this is the internal one, the inner path, the inner way. It's the way of Obatala, you know, white cloth. It's that way of Ifa, you know. It's it can be the wisdom path or it can be the mystic path. But this is about a path. It's not just about coming out and doing permaculture, you know, or hugel culture. We're doing all of that here. I mean, actually, the land does it itself. That's what's such a miracle and magical. So we want other people that want to share this experiment of diving in and finding out who you are. But you have to have something to give, to bring to the altar. So part of what you bring to the altar, part of what I bring to the altar, part of what Britt brings to the altar is we're working on knowing who we are and being kind and forgiving to ourselves first. And every day calling on that law of forgiveness, that we don't create error anymore, because cause and effect, it happens. You know, there you can reach a place where bad stuff stops coming back to you because you stop putting bad stuff out there. You know, you just create good stuff and loving stuff, and that loving stuff goes out and multiplies and comes back to you. And it's exciting. I mean, we're at this point where we have enough peace in our life, in our relationship, and stability that we are working on building something. So other people out there must be at that point in their lives. Give us a proposal.
So I thought you had an update kind of to just like, it's something you were talking about earlier. You're talking about, you know, this is an update to like everything they're doing now is an illusion, and I forget the wording of it. I wrote it down.
Yeah, but you have to be specific, okay, because sometimes it's me talking and sometimes it's spirit talking. So,
well, I didn't get specific enough.
If it's just,
it was something I liked and I should have put more
if
details
it's coming
on
right from Oshun, then it's Oshun talking. So
right,
you know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, it was just something
like you
know, we were talking about going live and doing the video, and so I was just taking notes, and it was just something about an update about and you touched about it with the Roman Empire a bit, how as things get worse or whatever, as things
in appearance in the outer world.
Yeah, so the update was just about that's what it is, this appearance of
right. That's because the light, when the light comes, the darkness comprehendeth it not. Mm-hmm. You know, when the light comes, they get skittery in that, because whether you believe in the Kali Yugas, the ages are turning, and because there is no time, us who are present can call that judgment that it comes right now. It is here and now. White supremacy is judged and bound. It's a failed experiment. So I go before the court of the sacred fire, and I don't judge and bind white people. I judge and bind white supremacy, the spirit, cause, effect, record, and memory. I ask Estrella to take her circle and sword and go into the astral plane and remove those foundations according to the great law that can be taken now. That's what's accelerating people like me around the world, around the planet, making those calls consciously. Instead of going, woe is me, they're going, whoa, they shall not pass. They shall not pass. You know, not on my watch. You know, it's not happening. It's not. It happened to me. It's not happened to my granddaughter. So,
talk about the violet flame, and then we're gonna do 5 minutes of live streamed violet flame. It's gonna be exciting.
All right. So, some of you metaphysicians are familiar with the different ages in the Western system, and someday I'll know what it is in my Yoruba and Igbo systems, but I know it in my heart. So there's these different ages. So if you look at the Bible, the Old Testament, I think that was that Moses? Anyway, the Messiah that was coming was Jesus. So that was the new light to come to the planet. And the whole thing, then even when Jesus came, he went to study in Nepal and with the Buddhists, and he learned a lot about the affirming life. So his age is called the Piscean age. So I think, what do you get, 2,000 years is an age. And so what we've heard about the coming Aquarian age is the age of Saint Germain. And I'm have to make, this is like, there's a whole bunch of information that's not being included because there's like a whole spiritual, which has been called the Great White Brotherhood and messed up. So we'll just call it the Great White Black Brotherhood, the Great All Color Brotherhood, the Great Light Brotherhood. Let's call it that. The Great Brotherhood of Illumination and non-discrimination. Let's call it that. The Great Black Lives Matter Brotherhood. So Saint Germain is the hierarch of the Aquarian age. So I know you might have heard the Piscean age and the Aquarian age if you people study astrology. And so when you're at that level of mastery as like Jesus or Zarathustra or Buddha, when you're at that, you get to choose what there's certain parameters, which are your karma, but you get to choose what your mission is and what it's going to be like and where it's going to be. Those are the decisions made consciously. You are ascending in the light consciously. This is, you can't do it drunk. You can't do it in trance. You have to be awake. You have to be alert. And the light has to be held in your physical body. That's what they were doing. That's what people, when they tried to paint them, those are like, oh, there's all this light. And anyway, it's just, okay. It's just a different, okay.
You're all right. You're doing great.
Yeah, it's hard because there's such a kind of environment that this all takes place in. So Saint Germain's gift to the Aquarian age is the violet flame. So Jesus was basically the Prince of Peace. He called it the law of forgiveness. The Old Testament was an eye for an eye. He was like forgiveness, turn the other cheek. Saint Germain, so these are evolutions in consciousness. So Saint Germain comes with the violet flame to transmute karma. Yeah. So he's giving us a way to do these mantras, which are repeated over and over, to visualize our bad karma or things that we see as problems in our life. And by calling on that and in his name, just like in Jesus' name, you can heal and do other things. That's what Jesus said, and the greater works. Saint Germain comes with this to transmute your karma. Okay, you're coming aware, so maybe you want some of those things out of your way. So that's what his Saint Germain's gift is.
So what do you do?
So the easiest one is I am a being. So we're using I am, which is basically the word of creation. I am. You're calling something into manifestation, whether it's good or bad. So I am a being of violet fire. I am the purity God desires. That's the way I learned it from Elizabeth Clare Prophet and the teachings of the Ascended Masters. That's the way I learned it. And you repeat it 3, 6, 9 times. And you also visualize or attempt to visualize, see, I don't know, what do you see? Something you think you did bad, a sin. And it's on this log, and you just see this kind of black log that's in your heart. And then, but you see violet flame is like burning it up. It's just like burning it up. And you see yourself surrounded by that violet flame. And there are a lot of visualizations on YouTube. Summit Lighthouse, that's what I came through. Elizabeth Clare Prophet and Summit Lighthouse. I was there with her in Montana and California. So that's the one I know. And I feel like that has the highest vibration because there's a lot of people doing things with violet flame and violet light, and they're just, you can feel a different vibration. So that's the one I can speak for. So I am a being of violet fire. I am the purity God desires. And Britt, you like to change things, millennials like to modernize things. And I like it. It's just,
well, let's get some water and we'll do it for 5 minutes.
Okay.
But yeah, Summit Lighthouse, she generally puts them up on my PS3 on YouTube. and plays them while in the morning and throughout the day while she's working on her projects. It's nice having, it's always nice having something playing in the background, music or whatever. But
and we can charge our water with the light of perfection and infuse it with love and everything we need to manifest perfection in our body, to purify it of all harmful substance. For thy will and holy purpose, let it be done. I am that I am.
Bless it. Thank us.
Bless it. Thank us. And so then that's how you these are practical things you do. Your practice isn't just on Sunday or Saturday. It's with everything you do, you're making it all sacred.
Cool. So if you look into those videos, like I said, Summit Lighthouse, they have a lot of cool visualizations. They maybe in other videos we can talk more about your experience with them and how they operated. As I don't know, that'd be interesting for me to hear, at least, because
the history.
Because you talk about, we've been talking, we're going to do this, we're going to do it. Okay,
I'm going to do by the flame.
But I was just getting into how you would talk about people, there'd be like 100 people in a room just doing the same mantra, and charging space with it. And I think it's really powerful. So
we used to do this New Year's Eve ceremony for Buddha, and we would light a candle and we would just chant until like 1 a.m. and then Buddha would come and do a dictation. I mean, it was just so high.
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine the room of like hundreds of people with candles and doing mantras, and then Mother would come out and Buddha, she would raise her consciousness and Buddha would lower his consciousness. And it was just like, whoa. So I would love to be able to magnetize those kind of experiences again.
So
we can do by the flame.
We'll start off slow and then we'll hit it.
All right.
I am a being of violet fire. I am the purity of source desires. I am the being of violet fire. I am the purity of source desire. I am a being of violet fire. I am the purity of source desire. I am a being of violet fire. I am the purity of source desire. I am a being of violet fire. I am the purity source desires. I am a being of violet fire. I am the purity source desires. I am a being of violet fire. I am the purity source desires. I am a being of violet fire. I am the purity source desire. I am a being of violet fire. I am the purity source desires. I am a being of violet fire. I am the purity source desire. I am a being of violet fire. I am the purity source desire. I am a being of violet fire. I am the purity source desire. I am a being of violet fire. I am the purity source desire. I am a being of violet fire. I am the purity source desires. I am a being of violet fire. I am the purity source desire. I am a being of violet fire. I am the purity source desire. I am a being of violet fire. I am the purity source desires. I am a being of violet fire. I am the purity source desire. I am a being of violet fire. I am the purity source desires. I am a being of violet fire. I am the purity source desire. I am a being of violet fire. I am the purity source desires. I am a being of violet fire. I am the purity source desire. I am a being of violet fire. I am the purity source desires. I am a being of violet fire. I am the purity source desire. I am a being of violet fire. I am the purity source desires. I am a being of violet fire. I am the purity source desire. I am a being of violet fire. I am the purity source desire. I am a being of violet fire. I am the purity source desire. I am a being of violet fire. I am the purity source desire. I am a being of violet fire. I am the purity source desire. I am a being of violet fire. I am the purity source desire. I am a being of violet fire. I am the purity source desire. I am a being of violet fire. I am the purity source desire. I am a being of violet fire. I am the purity source desire. I am a being of violet fire. I am the purity source desire. I am a being of violet fire. I am the purity source desire. I am a being of violet fire. I am the purity source desire. I am a being of violet fire. I am the purity source desire. I am a being of violet fire. I am the purity source desire. I am a being of violet fire. I am the purity source desire. I am a being of violet fire.
fire and the beauty God desires. I'm a being of fire and the beauty God desires. I'm a being of fire and the beauty God desires. I'm a being of fire and the beauty God desires. Be my fire and the beauty God desires. I'm be my fire and the beauty God desires. I'm be my fire and the beauty God desires. I'm be my fire and the beauty God desires. I'm be my fire and the beauty God desires. I'm be my fire and the beauty God desires. I be my fire and the beauty God desires. I be my fire and the beauty God desires. I be my fire and the beauty God desires. I be my fire and the beauty God desires. I be my fire and the beauty God desires. I be my fire and the beauty God desires. I be my fire and the beauty God desires. I be my fire and the beauty God desires. I be my fire and the beauty God desires. I be my fire and the beauty God desires. I be my fire and the beauty God desires. I be my fire and the beauty God desires. I be my fire and the beauty God desires. I be my fire and the beauty God desires. I be my fire and the beauty God desires. I be my fire and the beauty God desires. I be my fire and the beauty God desires. I be my fire and the beauty God desires. I be my fire and the beauty God desires. I be my fire and the beauty God desires. I be my fire and the beauty God desires. I be my fire and the beauty God desires. I be my fire and the beauty God desires. I be my fire and the beauty God desires. I be my fire and the beauty God desires. I be my fire and the beauty God desires. I be my fire and the beauty God desires. I be my fire and the beauty God desires. I be my fire and the beauty God desires. I be my fire and the beauty God desires. I be my fire and the beauty God desires. I be my fire and the beauty God desires. I be my fire and the beauty God desires. I be my f And involve that consciousness of this manifest, and involve that consciousness of this manifest, and involve that consciousness of this manifest, right here and now in full power, eternal, sustainable, powerfully active, ever expanding, world unfolding, all our holy, ascended, light, and free. Beloved we are, beloved we are, beloved we are, beloved we is am.
We is am.
We is am. Asheo.
So I like something we were talking about earlier is that the first priority has to be
spirit. Knowing who you are, that interior journey, because otherwise everything else is shaky, because that you can never know. I mean, you may be even very wealthy. I mean, look at our president. Look at him.
So now what are you going to do? Now what am I going to do?
What are we going to do?
What are you going to do?
Do wackadoo, wackadoo.
Do wackadoo. All right, folks, Zamani Refuge, African Culture Center. Thanks for hanging out.
Love you. Hope
Peace.
to see you again soon.
Adios.
Bye. Yeye Osunyemi.